Hey guys, my name is Wyndon, and in today's video I will go over my top 5 common ADC mistakes you should avoid in your games. As the preseason continue, I tend to see more and more weird games when players try new stuff in a very specific and obnoxious way. Don't get me wrong, it's totally cool cause with a lot of changes to ADC role with itemization, it is the perfect time to try out good old non-meta champions and adapt item and rune changes to them. So the first mistake I see a lot in my games that opponents AD carries abuse is using wrong runes. There are a lot of low elo players out there who struggle with climbing in League just because of underestimating the rune impact in their games. Fixing that problem only and start using proper runes according to different scenarios will make your climb way easier and enjoyable. I won't go over every single aspect with runes and how to choose them. This is definitely a topic for another future video. In order to understand the importance of keystones for AD carries, I will quickly go over them and explain why and when you should use them. So press the attack is still a strong choice for engaging AD carries like Lucian, Tristana and Kai'Sa. When you pick this, try looking for early short trades, starting mostly from level 2. You use lethal tempo for strong hyper carries, like Jinx and Varus, to enlarge their potential of dealing consistent damage in a late game. Fleet footwork for additional movement speed and survivability throughout laning phase, and easier positioning during late game teamfights. And reward Conqueror, which now works more similar to old Fervor, which gives you consistent damage and sustained throughout long teamfights. It can be used properly with not every single AD carry. Again, this is just paper info. It is not enough to check OPGG and go for most popular champion rune every game, but it is more efficient to adapt your runes to playstyle you focus on. Cause runes, like any other league features, are your instruments, which you should use smart in order to win more games. Alright, let's go straight to the next mistake most of low elo AD carries play around. It's actually bad itemization, with crit item changes, especially with Stormrazor, which is pretty OP right now and built on most of ADC at the moment. As the result, many players struggle to choose the right pattern for their build. At some point it becomes hard to survive or deal proper damage in a teamfight due to bad itemization. Let's make it super simple, guys. If you play a Lucian top lane versus fat tank like Mundo or Urgot, there has to be no way of not building Blade of Runekin as a first item. If you tend to see at least more than 2 tanks in enemy team during pick, building Bork as a first item is a must for champions like Lucian, Ashe and Varus. The value this item provides versus high HP champions, worth more than a 1.5 item value for your standard crit build item instead. Or another example, lower elo players often forget that if you face Senna these days, that is kinda OP at the moment, especially paired with Soraka or Nami in lane, and you get non-stop eternal heals and no way to beat them even on all-ins. Here is when Executioner Calling has come into play and should be abused and bought immediately after first back. You pay 800 gold for a 50% heal cut for the rest of the game. And it is compared to have an ignite effect on every auto attack. That is insane. The same stuff about building upgraded Last Whisper in your games. I tend to build Last Whisper in more than half of my games, even when there are no real tanks in the enemy team. You might think that building additional Zeal item is a better choice, but in reality, the real DPS comes not only from crits and attack speed, but with armor penetration. It is not mandatory for early or mid game, but many players forget how important and big increments in raw stats are. Let's put Azonia on mid lane, Tappy Boots on squishy top laner, and a few support items for enemy support. You get the picture when there is no tanks in enemy team, but they still possess around 100 armor. That is equal to blocking 50% of your auto attack damage with every hit. I think I've said enough and you got the point already. Adapt your items to each game, don't build them blindly every game the same. So the next mistake low elo AD carries are abusing is not playing around dragons. Some of you might already felt with the new dragon patch notes and different OP buffs you receive, priority in securing dragons for a permanent buff just got even edgy. That is why we tend to see more junglers these days capable of making solo dragons super early in the game, like Lee Sin, Warwick, Nunu and many others. But to tell the truth, it is the stronger bot lane that makes picking early dragons easier and increase chances of winning game afterwards. Now let's go straight to the next mistake connected to this one. The mistake of not playing around early advantage. Probably the worst mistake to practice in your games. You always have to monitor your condition in terms of power. If you're unable to understand if you're strong or not at some point of the time in the game, that could be a big reason why you keep losing more games than you should. It really comes to your game and champion knowledge, understanding their strengths and weaknesses, and it is one of the main things you should be thinking about hundreds of times throughout every game. If you happen to get early advantage with few kills or minion level lead, think always ahead and ask yourself, okay, what can I do to get even stronger? Should I continue to farm bot or try to contest dragon? Maybe we should go and clear enemy jungler with a number advantage. Or let's move to the top side and secure early herald with 3 people and break the tower afterwards. Always look for opportunities and compare the value and risk for the actions you can make happen in your games. And the last mistake that probably 95% of all AD carry players in League below Diamond do every game is FFing way too early. Now let me reveal a myth that players below Diamond Elo are believing. Surrendering at 15 minutes is not an option, trust me guys, it is the last thing you should agree with, especially if you're below Diamond Elo, and especially if you're AD carry. Let me explain why. Players just tend to practice this over and over in low Elo, even more frequently than in higher. On one hand, it is easy to surrender or lead the game after a bad start, given your opponent's free league points. But on the other hand, you miss the biggest opportunities to improve yourself as a player. It is easy to play with lead, but it takes immense amount of skill and number of outplays to get back into those games, especially at high elo when players know what they're doing. That is why high elo players tend to FF often. Their opponents are so good that if they lose early, it is nearly impossible to come back and stall the game. So there is no real reason to ruin your KDA even more, and start a new one isn't the bad option. The problem is that 95% of all league players below Diamond Elo think this is the way they should be playing. Guess what? They are wrong. If you gold, you face gold players against you. They are not that skilled to use the lead they get to its max potential, and easier to outplay. That is why instead of FFing, try focus more on getting back into your game. Find and exploit their weaknesses, maintain your farming. Try to fight less while they are strong, but rather focus on picking single wandering targets if possible. Getting better at playing from behind will improve you as a player tremendously. While your enemies FFing and keep being hard-stuck gold players, you'll keep playing and looking for opportunities and getting better with triple speed compared to them. There are really almost no uncomebackable games in low elo, especially for AD carry players. Your role purpose is to farm early and be valuable late game. There is no point of getting tilted if you have a bad start, but focus on making as little mistakes as possible and get those items to try carry late game. Just a quick advice guys, if you're getting tilted super fast when losing, you probably want to swap your role, play more around early game like with support or jungle role. It might fit you better from mindset perspective. Yep, that's pretty much it. If you found this video useful, hit that like button and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. I also want to remind you that you can find me on Twitch. I stream League almost every day, don't be shy, come to stream and say hi. And I got a question for you guys. What is the worst mistake you make in your games that keep your elo climbing down? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.